Hello and welcome back. Today's day 18 and we are talking about routines. If you watched day 17, you know that we talked about taking our 90-day aim, shortening it to 30 days to get started, and we broke those 30 days into 4 focused areas. The idea is to start, do something as fast and as quickly as possible. Well, quickly and fast are the same thing, but as quickly and as small as possible. We talked about thinking big and starting small. So what is our starting small? That's what we're going to do on week 1, and then on week 2 we're building based on what we've seen work. On week 3 we're reinforcing, and then on week 4 we're closing and doing a review. So that's where we're at. We're at this 30-day period where we want to get started with our goals, where we want to build momentum and get to a point where we're actually seeing things happening. You have an idea of the goals that you want to set for yourself this year. We looked at the 7 categories of life that Dave Ramsey suggests looking at in terms of setting goals. Now, that's not to say that in every single season in this year, every single period, you need to look at those 7 areas, but I feel like it's simpler to have one specific aim over a 90-day period and then break that down into 3 30-day increments and then break those 30 days into 4 focus area weeks. So the idea is to think about your main aim for these 90 days. You cannot have multiple aims because, as we've been talking about, you have to have a definite purpose. You have to have narrow focus to be able to achieve your goals. You cannot spread your efforts and energy across multiple goals at the same time. So the idea is to take 90 days because it's a good period of time to start seeing results. And it's typically the time it takes to build consistent habits. I think it takes like 60 days, but 90 days is a good time for us to see that we've built habits, we've implemented them, they work, and we've been consistent. So that's why we're looking at 90 days. Now, 30 days is the challenge that we're giving ourselves to start, to build momentum, and to get to those 90 days in increments. Now, today we're going to talk about routines because the thing is, you have a plan, you have goals, and you have to have routines that allow you to sustain those goals without even thinking. And to build successful routines, you have to know who you are. You have to know, are you a morning person? Are you a night person? Like, I am a night owl. I can work till the sun comes up, but I don't typically do well in the morning unless I have to. So you have to know who you are. You have to know what your life can actually allow. We talked about how I experienced burnout in the second week of this series because I ignored the rest of my life and decided to focus on completing the series. I had a goal to be done at a certain date, and I didn't reach that goal because I burned out. I did not honor my capacity, and that's fine. And I'm learning from all these things, and I'm actually glad because it's teaching me why things break down and how you can actually resolve them, which is the whole purpose of me doing this series. This is why I started this series, because I sat down and thought about my life and wondered why I wasn't reaching the goals that I had set for myself, especially last year around like October, November. I was so annoyed with myself. I was so disgusted. I was so annoyed because I looked at the goals I set for myself for 2025 and I hadn't accomplished any of them. Maybe 1 or 2, but it was really, now mind you, I had a good start in the beginning of the year, but then things just didn't work out. And some of it is my fault, some of it is just life being life, but I feel like if I can control something in my life, I'm gonna control it because there's so much I cannot control. There's so much I cannot predict. So the little things that I can control and can predict, I'm gonna do everything possible to do that so that it has a little bit of impact on the things that I cannot control. That's my perspective of life. That's how I see things. And that's kind of why I'm also working on really understanding how I'm gonna set goals this year in a way that is successful, in a way that allows me to reach them, in a way that allows me to be proud of myself at the end of the year and not go through this cycle of just planning goals, setting goals, not reaching them, and starting over the next year and thinking that I'm making progress. No, I actually really want to see progress with my goals, and that's why I'm doing all of this. So anyways, said a lot, but today the idea is to build routines. And to do that, we need to think about who we are. What can our lives actually realistically sustain? We talked about that being capacity, but it's also an understanding of who you are and how you can operate with the capacity that you have. Even though you have, 4 hours available in a day, if you're not a morning person, if those hours are in the morning, you're not going to get as much done versus if those hours were in the evening. These are things that you got to know. These are things that you got to know about yourself. Like if you have children, maybe the best time for you to get things done is when they're all asleep or when they're all at school or when they're away at their grandparents. I don't know. But whatever it is, just take the time to think about who you are as a person and how you can fit your goals into your life right now, considering what your preferences are. Like, I can work in front of the TV. I don't necessarily work well in silence. For some reason, I need to have music or voices in the background, and it helps me concentrate. I don't know, it helps me concentrate. For example, I cannot stand the cold. I am black. I cannot stand the cold. So if I'm in a room that's cold, I will not get anything done. Nothing. You won't get anything out of me because all I can think about is the cold. So simple things like that. So if I were to write a book, I am not going to Antarctica. I am not going to Sweden or Finland or Iceland if I want to go away. But I'm also not going to Brazil, or I'm going to a place where the weather permits it. Now, some people like to go to the mountains to really think things through. Like, I'm not a beach person, so it doesn't relax me to go to the beach. Anyways, I'm rambling on, but I remember there was a period of time where I had joined a workout club, and their perspective was that you should work out 5 days a week during the week, so on weekdays, and not do anything during the weekend because that's your time for other things in life. So you should consider working out as like a duty that you have for yourself on weekdays. And it worked for me for a while, but then at a certain point I stopped because I realized that it wasn't really working out for me, because I actually see working out as like relaxation, as something that should be enjoyable, as something that shouldn't feel like a burden. It should be something you take pleasure in. And so I would typically work out during the weekend. So yeah, that didn't work out for me, and I ended up understanding why, because I'm more of a weekend person when it comes to working out. So just giving you examples of things you need to consider to know what kind of person you are, so you can build successful, scalable routines that are adapted to your life, your environment, and who you are and what you value. So now, in terms of routines, there are different types of routines. There are fixed routines and there are flexible routines. So fixed routines are things that you do at the same time, same days, probably the same amount of time. So that would be, for example, waking up at the same time every day, or working out at the same time on specific days. For example, if you have a workout routine and your routine is to do leg day every Monday, and then you have core every Tuesdays, you have arms every Wednesday, that would be your fixed routine. Now, your flexible routine is what you do for the same amount of time, but on different days. So there are things that you're going to do every single day. Like, for example, waking up. For example, I've made it a routine to wake up and drink a glass of water. So before I go to sleep, I tend to leave a glass of water next to my bedstand, so that when I wake up, it's the first thing I see and the first thing I can grab. One routine that I do want to implement is not having any phone time, any screen time in the morning when I wake up until a certain amount of time. I'm not there yet, working on it. But, other things could be deciding to read a chapter of a book every single day in the morning for an hour or for a specific amount of time. So those are things that you would implement and that you would add to your flexible or fixed routine. But you have to make a distinction between those, because there are things that you won't be able to do every single day, and you have to be okay with the idea that you just won't get to it every single day. For example, I try to make it, it's a standard of mine to not end the day without planning the next day. So I typically write out the things I want to do on my planner before I go to sleep, because I want to start the day with a clear idea of what it is I want to have accomplished. And then if things change, that I know where I can fit them or how it impacts other things I wanted to get done. Something I do want to do that I haven't been able to do consistently is do like a weekly review or a monthly review consistently. And I haven't been able to do that. So that's something I'm working on. Those routines will help us stay on top of our goals and on top of our things to do, because I don't know about you, but having a to-do list keeps me focused. It keeps me organized. If I don't know what's on my to-do list, then I will do whatever I want with my time. Like, whatever comes up is what I'll do. And I am a creative mind. I'm more of an artistic mind. So if my imagination takes me somewhere, if I have an idea, if I feel like doing something, then I might just do it. If I don't have a list that keeps me focused, that keeps me on task. So that's how I do it. So that's kind of why I need to plan out my day before it starts, so that I use my time effectively or efficiently. So as you're planning out your routine, just think about what should be fixed, what should be flexible, what works better on weekdays, what works better on weekend days, what works better weekly versus bi-weekly or monthly. Like, where does your goal live? For example, there are things that I will do in the morning. There are things that I just cannot get to them in the morning. Just give me till noon before I get to them. There are things that I cannot do on a weekday because it's just not a priority on a weekday. It just doesn't fit into my mindset or my perspective or it doesn't fit into my view of my week. It just doesn't fit. There are things that don't fit certain locations. Like I'm just not gonna, for example, get a spiritual goal done while I'm at work. Like the environment just doesn't allow for it. I'm not gonna get work done while I'm at church. The environment just doesn't allow for it. So your goals belong to a certain place. Like they exist in a certain window of time and a certain location in your mind, in your habits, in your routines. So as you're mindful of that, you then know what is it that you can get done throughout your week, throughout your day, based on who you are, what you prioritize, and where your goals belong. So that's it for today. I will see you for day 19.